since I found out I could talk to my grandpa in the afterlife through a psychic medium, I realized he has so many nuggets of wisdom to share with me, which I hope to share with you guys. So if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe down below. If you have any questions for Grandpa Luan, comment below and they might be featured in our next video. So thanks again for watching, and I hope you enjoy.
Hello, Miss Maria.
Hello, Miss Trang. How you
So,
doing?
I am doing very well. It's a beautiful day, and I would like to ask my grandpa today about pain and suffering. Some shower thoughts I had about that. So,
Those are the best.
yes. So I'm just gonna dive right in. This is what I think a lot of people do ask. Does everything truly happen for a reason? Does the universe make it happen, or there's some things purely just coincidental, or happen by chance? Like for example, some people might be like, well, I just happened to be at the wrong place in the wrong time, and so I got hit by a car. Or was it actually planned for them to be hit by the car as part of their journey of growing?
So this is an interesting question because, okay, if you imagine your life as an endless set of possibilities, and as a soul, when you're assessing the life you're about to go into, to incarnate into, you could see that these infinite possibilities. So the free will determines these possibilities. However, there's a contract that kind of sets in place a general kind of path. Like,
when you say contract, do you mean like people have it's like our souls come into Earth with a mission?
yeah, you could call it like a mission or like an assignment of some sort, like a rubric, like imagine you're like, okay, so in the last life I did this and this, I want to work out these things. I want to experience the opposite of this, or I want to experience this. I want to know what it's like for my soul growth. And then you kind of can create a plan, and your team can help up there, your spirit team. You guys can work out, the potentials, and then what incarnation might work best for you to achieve those lessons. And I can't even like explain the connectedness in the web, like from an above view of how it looks. It's insane. It's like I can barely fathom it. I'm just trying to put it into some sort of words. So there's some things that it's like infinite possibilities, right? So anything is technically seen and possible, but some things are, because of free will, can override a certain kind of contract where maybe you were supposed to stay in until you were 55, and then you were supposed to take on this position as this to do this, but because of free will and other people's free will, you died against the contract, meaning like you went out a little earlier than normal. And usually there's many different ways you can exit that are available. Like, it's rough. It's not like, I think it can be specific, but what I'm being shown is it's rough. Like, okay, you're going to exit around this time, and here's the different ways you can exit the life once you've done this, this, and this, right? So
for example, like suicide,
mm-hmm.
Was that part of a spirit, like their mission on Earth to commit suicide at that age to show an impact on Earth? Or was that one of those when humans, they free will, they cut their life short, and even though they still had they still didn't finish their mission?
It's definitely both and more than that. It depends on the soul. Can be planned, can be because of free will. Yeah. So sometimes it's like, nope, every way that path, that life was going down, inevitably they were going to kill themselves at some point or another. That was their chosen exit method. And then some people got overwhelmed along their path of trying to accomplish something difficult, and could lost the will to continue down that path, and then they exited before they were supposed to. And there's no punishment for that. It's just an extra karma kind of aspect of karma you have to work out in the following life or lives. So it just adds some of the lessons you have to learn. So you will come back down and try to work through those in other lives. So I
Okay.
thought that was really long-winded, but it's just too complex of a
Yeah, it
and
is. You probably see he's showing you a lot more than what
it's a lot of
I
visual.
could see. Yeah.
Do you feel
Uh,
like you answered the question, or do you anything else hanging in?
I mean, like it's kind of like you said, like in the other episode where it's like a game of chess, and you know, God or the energy source is playing the chess pieces, but free will kind of like manipulates can like change the chess pieces around, and so it's like even though you have a calculated plan, you know, it doesn't work that way because there's another influence on it. So it's kind of like a one of those it depends on the situation type of answer. I feel
Yeah,
like.
basically.
Yeah.
But a lot of times things happen for a reason.
Mm.
Most times, and there's always some sort of learning growth you can do from whatever ends up happening. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, why do bad things happen to good, innocent people? Like, why them? What is the purpose of it all? You know, for example, suicide bombers, Holocaust, genocide. We'll start with those first.
And so
Killing of the masses.
my whole body's like vibrating on this question. I feel this is an important issue, an important thing your grandpa wants to address.
Mm.
He's showing and saying that the contrast of a wrong against an innocent is enormously powerful in the shockwave that goes out from that experience to others surrounding that experience. And what it can do is cause like extreme growth in the people neighboring that incident, the related people that were around that or find out about it, the way they're impacted. So that's why a lot of times there'll be children who come in and like have some terrible disease, and they're like the happiest little people, and they're chugging along, and it inspires everybody. And oh God, I'm getting so many chills. This happened to someone I know. Their beautiful little baby had some really rare condition, and he barely left the hospital and didn't live much longer after his first couple years of life and leaving the hospital finally. But at his funeral, you could see this child had this extraordinary impact on the community and literally changed people's life courses and the way they think about things and the way medicine was performed at the hospital he was at and the way those individuals perceived things like that. Like it was like absolutely vital for them to experience that. And I can't even explain to you the vibrating and head to toe tingles I'm getting with this. It's a very important topic because it's hard for us to process this, and a lot of people get hung up on it, and I totally get it. Totally.
Yeah.
It's horrible to experience that in the human form, to lose an innocent or watch an innocent be tortured, killed, murdered, and any kind of horrible disease they can get. But truly, they're the brave souls that come in to show, to display an extremely growth-inducing circumstance. And so, give thanks to those innocent souls for volunteering to come down and do something so difficult here. And it's part of the contract they had.
I see it. So I understand from that example. Let's say, how about the Holocaust? And so if I were to apply to the Holocaust, it made a big wave throughout the whole world, right, about the news. And so as a result, it maybe people will stand up now more for what if something wrong is something happening that's wrong, something wrong happening on Earth.
Yeah.
But so there's that, but also, like you said, it can bring the community together. But my also other thought is for events like that, it can also make a lot of people harsh, like just angry about the situation and everything. So does it actually do more good than bad? Because obviously there's going to be people that are going to fight for like what's right in the future because of what's happened. But there's going to be people left behind. I guess I don't say left behind, but because they've just are in pain, they have PTSD, they're angry it happened to their family, and or they just stay in that anger state. So what about those people?
Great question. And there's a few tiers to this experience, if I could put it that way. I'm being shown there's a consciousness level shift on a larger level. So take all the micro effects from a epicenter of an action. So let's say the Holocaust is like the epicenter of a certain lesson for humanity at large. Imagine a big general shockwave coming out of that, like over the population. But then that's made up of micro impacts from individual level, soul level, because we are all one and our souls are all tied together through source, because we are. Those micro things are the things creating the butterfly effect that gains momentum because there's so many people learning that lesson that it shockwaves into like a consciousness shift for humanity, let's say. But then there's individual level growth, and part of those lessons of tragedy brings out the best and worst of people, and pain and suffering, and that all now we zoom in individual, a person. Imagine one person
You got cut
experiencing
off
the
right
shock.
there.
Oh,
Sorry, you got cut off for that last sentence. Could you
which part?
repeat?
Okay, so you heard the part about the general shockwave, and then we
Mhm.
zoom in now. Imagine like all these little dots that represent people, and you see like an epicenter, like a shockwave, a white, let's say like a circle that goes around them all. We were like, oh, there's a little dots, and it almost looks solid. But then when you zoom in, there's people, right? And then you keep zooming in, and then you see a man or a woman, and then you zoom into their consciousness, and then you look at their contract, and you see that like humanity, it's best and worst if humanity comes out from trauma and all that and loss. And so that's their individual lesson that they have to work out. So it's interesting to see like the cumulative effect of all those people processing that event, and on a soul level and a human level, and then how it comes together as a large impact. So
Okay.
it bring out dark sides of people, and that's something they have to work out as part of their lesson individually.
What about so what about for domestic abuse, child abuse, rape, homicide?
Mm.
You know, and that's more seems like on a smaller scale compared to, like, let's say like the Holocaust. So it feels like for the person that survived, the victims of the person that survived, it's like it's hard not to internalize it because it's happened only to them. It's not like, do you know what I mean? Like, as it didn't happen to that 5 million people or, you know, millions of people. It just kind of happened to them. So is this just like a lesson from, you know, it seems harsh maybe being saying, like, sometimes it's like hard being like, why would the universe do this to me? Why would they try to give me this lesson? Or, you know, so what do you have to say, or what advice would you give to those people?
I'm being shown so many things. So what I'm being shown is it actually is as big as the Holocaust. It's not bigger. But the problem has been that it's remained hidden. And it is, that's part of what's happening right now. That's one of the issues that's being purged or dredged out of the depths and into the surface, into the light, is that people were taking it on as an individual experience. And that feeling of victimization is a remarkable experience for the soul to learn how to become strong, to understand how strong they really are, and the act of overcoming that. Some people do not live to see that lesson in this life. They may find a way out. You know what I mean? They might their life get deeply into drugs, so they're not processing it, and they may never work good in this life. But many people do process it in various ways and still are able to function. However, there's this dark feeling of a secret they have, and unfortunately, the feeling of shame was so great on a consciousness level that it was not coming to the surface. So it does seem, people do think like, oh gosh, like, am I the only one? You know, whereas we can track and measure something like the Holocaust factually with records, and, you know, those people are, it was such a global event that we are aware of it. And the sad reality about victims of abuse over time, is that for many centuries, victims of abuse have been subjugated and have been put into the shadows, and they were made to feel the shame instead of the perpetrator feeling the shame for doing the act. So when you have someone who's been victimized, now the energy shift is changing, where there is a type of consciousness, like, let's say, something as big as a Holocaust or a mass genocide, where people are channeling that strength in numbers and starting to push that energy forward in a really big way. And there's been major shifts in that already energetically on a consciousness scale. So now that's going to be different. it's going to be a unit now where we are standing strong. We are not going to be victims anymore. And that's like mass karma, like relief of that, like, and lessons, and like mass, vibration shift of that. Like overcoming the experience of being a victim does an insane thing to like your vibration once you figure it out. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Getting out of the victim vibration is like the most empowering, beautiful thing. So it's tough to go through it, and I've been through that in many different ways. And once I got out of the victim mindset, and this is talking energetically, I'm not trying to use the word victim as like a shaming thing. This is just a strictly diagrammatic example. Using the victim vibration keeps you in this state of constant fear, paranoia, restlessness, and just you feel a lot like yourself. And then once you get out of that, it's like, oh, like it's the craziest feeling. So all of you out there who've experienced abuse in all the different ways you can experience abuse, you're brave souls for having that experience. And you know what? You're helping the consciousness of humanity ascend like you wouldn't believe, and your own personal soul is growing so much. So stay strong. Know that you're an infinite, inalienable light, and that you're doing so much for the world. So I just wanted to put that out there.
What is the purpose of someone being here on Earth if they just end up committing suicide, ending their life?
There's always a lesson, even if it was a short life. There's always lessons that were learned. There's always growth that's happened in the soul. Always. Like we don't realize, like on a moment-to-moment scale. Like I'm being shown like a moment, like imagine a person just walking down their house, like the interactions they're having with the energy around them. Like we don't realize like how much we're picking up and processing and moving through, even just in our daily lives. So there's always lessons that are being absorbed and learned by that soul. And so it's never a waste. Sometimes it's like, oh wow, there's going to be a chain reaction of stuff. If that person hadn't left, then all this other people would have grown, and this would have happened, and then this would have changed, and then our consciousness would have grown. So sometimes it's a big magnitude of effect if someone gets off themselves. And I think that's why people intuitively in different cultures have like labeled suicide as like, don't do it, so they put all this fear around it so people won't do it, but really they're probably processing like the effect of like someone taking themselves out of an equation where there's all these other contingent contracts on that person. Like, oh, you had a contract with this person, who had a contract with that person. So you're like just taking yourself out of the equation, and there's just collateral damage all the way around. So it's just not, yeah, it can be very disruptive for sure. But you're not going to be punished for it in any way. It's just there is energetic.
Like it makes a wave.
What was that?
Like it makes a wave, like
it
after
makes a wave. Absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
Okay. Why is there unfairness? Like, for example, people that are just super rich, people that work so hard and always seem to struggle to make ends meet. Is it their destiny to live their life this way? Like, there's some people that for the whole entire life that there's some people you might know that they, no matter how hard they work, they just always seem to be struggling. I'm just going to say like financially or something like that. Nothing seems to go well for them. They just seem unlucky,
Your grandpa's getting all like philosophical here. He basically said something along the lines of, there is nothing but fairness. What?
I know. I'm like,
he's showing.
Can you explain that to us?
Yeah. This is what I love about your grandfather. Like he says something that's so simple, but so freaking deep and impactful. And then he shows me all these images and feelings, and I'm like, whoa. So like, what he's showing me, he's so bomb. I love your grandfather. What he's showing me is like, when we're all energies that have gone out of our bodies and gone to source, or the higher dimensions we call heaven, we all choose to come down here and do all this. We choose to have those experiences. It's fair. It's always fair. We're always one. We're always all God. We're all at the same status, the same level, the same love, endless, inalienable energy. There is no such thing as unfairness. When we come down here, we have that perception of fairness and unfairness because we don't remember that we came down and asked to do these things and to experience these feelings of unfairness, because that will help us grow. But when we're not in this life, there is nothing but fairness, and that's all there ever is. So there's not like someone was chosen over someone else to experience. Like you asked to do that. your soul made that decision to do that. So that's
Got
part of,
it.
yeah. So you see what he means? Like, oh,
Okay.
fun. Sorry, my husband's just bringing me some matcha green tea.
Yeah.
So Trang and I are, he's getting the kitties. It's his friends here, so he's showing the kitties.
Oh. Guest star kitties. Yum.
His friends.
Um,
Sorry, go ahead.
oh, it's okay. I think. Trying to think. I think that's all the questions for this episode. And I'll save the rest for another time. So yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Grandpa. Thanks,
Talking.
Maria.